Hello, I'm Aaron from Floor is Lava Productions, and this is Better Mixes, episode 3. So this week I want to talk about something which is not just applicable to audio production, video production, music making in any way. It's applicable to life in general, and that is turning a negative into a positive. If you can't turn negatives into positives, then you're going to hold yourself back and you're never going to evolve past where you are. So to outline how this is going to work, I want to take some words of possibly the most negatively viewed man on the planet and see if we can turn his words and quotes into something positive. So let's start with this little one. So this is to do with client feedback and making sure that you are taking in account all of the information that's given to you. So in a very childish way, Donald Trump here has said, if something doesn't agree with what I say and what I do, it's not real, which is a terrible attitude to have. But let's turn it into a positive. So feedback is incredibly important, especially client feedback. And you should never let it be seen as a negative thing. As soon as you realise that all feedback, no matter if it's negative or positive, is a good thing, you will move on leaps and bounds in your production, personal life, anything. So what we're saying here is that if 10 people tell you that your bass sounds muddy, or you've got phasing issues, or your vocals aren't loud enough, it's probably safe to assume that those 10 people are probably right. If one person tells it you, then obviously you should still look at it, because any feedback is good feedback. But maybe take the general consensus on these sort of things. So if 10 people tell you this, maybe it's worth changing your attitude towards how that is. Don't take it as an offence and become a keyboard warrior and defend yourself on forums saying, well, I know you're all saying this, but I think that I'm right. Because it's very rarely the case when so many people chip in. So always take it as a positive. Don't ignore the facts. Don't ignore what people are saying. Listen to them and learn from it and adjust accordingly, because ultimately it will help in the long run. Not childish in any way there by Donald Trump. So how can we spin this into a positive? I would say that this is a collaboration industry. Not just this industry, but all industries. You should always not put people down when you've done better than them, because if you've pitched a proposal and your proposal has been picked over someone else's, you then having a go and making this person feel small isn't going to help anyone, because they're going to try and learn from the experience, and all they're going to remember is your negative comments. Remember that burning bridges is never a good thing. If you're burning lots of bridges with people, people aren't going to want to work with you, because they're going to talk and they're going to tell everyone else how you've acted. So you should always act in a professional way. If you do well, fantastic, and hopefully people will praise you. If someone else does well, then, you know, praise them as well. So just remember, in the words of Kendrick Lamar,
sit down, be humble.
the Great Wall of Trump. Okay, so for this one, I think it's important to make sure that you are realistic and deliver what you promise. There is no point saying that you're going to do this amazing, amazing thing if you just simply can't do it due to lack of knowledge or lack of equipment. You've got to be realistic with people. You've got to say that for your money, for someone's hard-earned money, you've got to tell them what they are going to get. If you cannot do that, then don't tell them you can, because ultimately it's going to make you look like a con artist. It's going to make them underwhelmed with the product, and no one's going to have a good time. They're not going to recommend you. They're not going to be happy about paying. I'm not saying don't obviously sell yourself, but sell yourself for the ability that you can achieve with what you have and with what equipment you are using. Don't if you're working, don't promise that you can make drums sound exactly like the drums on Green Day American Idiot if you know that you cannot do that, because you are just going to annoy the person who you're working for. They're not going to recommend you. No one's going to be happy at this situation, and you're going to look a bit dodgy. So Donald Trump promised to build a wall and promised to make Mexico pay for it. That's never going to happen. So he's now going to have to somehow back out of this and back down from what he said, which is, it's a lot more difficult to back down once you've said something than it is to just be realistic in the first place. Immigration, this could be a tough one. So from this I can see that he's blaming people for problems that it's probably not their fault. So let's take this into a studio. It's never wise to blame the band for a bad product. A lot of people will put out their mix and go, I'm sorry it's not better, but the band weren't very good. That's not an excuse. As a producer and a mix engineer, it's your job to get the best performance out of those people. They need your help. They need to be relaxed. They need to know that they're doing well. They need coaching through the recording process. A lot of bands won't have recorded before, so they don't know how it works. They didn't realise that everything is, maybe they do a demo and then overdub everything individually, and the singer's not used to being in that environment. So I don't think it's fair to blame the artist, and that's what Trump's doing. Trump is blaming immigrants and saying that he should only let the best vetted people in. And if you've got that attitude in your studio saying, I'm only going to let bands in that are very good and are seasoned and can play very well, then you're going to struggle to find clients. So just remember, don't blame the artist because they might be nervous, they might not be used to this situation. You cannot blame a bad mix on the artist not being vetted properly, to put it in Donald Trump's words. You've got to get the best out of people. That part of the job is making them feel comfortable. If an artist isn't hugging you at the end of 2 weeks of being in a studio with you, then you haven't connected that you haven't got that bond with them, and therefore they might have not have relaxed enough to give you their best performance. I mean, this guy is the leader of the free world. Okay, so this I always read as he's ignoring the wide scope of things to concentrate on one little thing. This in a studio to me says that just because something has worked once, or you've got a little bit of one person has told you to do one thing but everyone else is telling you to do another thing, doesn't mean that one person's right. You should look at things as a whole. You shouldn't just be concentrating on one little thing. If someone is saying to you, you should always use this reverb setting on a snare, and it works once, and you're like, this is amazing, this is the best snare sound ever, don't then use that setting on every future project, because it might not be right for those projects. So think of it like Trump, where whenever you're in a situation when you automatically go to a go-to, just think about the wide scheme of things. Are you just looking at it too closely? Are you looking at one day of cold rather than the heat changes of a whole season, year or decade? I don't even know where to go with this on Donald Trump. I mean, just think, don't be Trump. Okay, last one. We made it through Trump's idiocy. Okay, so this is probably one of the most shocking things I've read that he said, but I think we can still turn it into a positive because we're positive people. So obviously he's trying to make up for his actions by saying that other people are doing worse things. I've actually heard this in the studio quite a few times where people have said, example that would never happen, this guy's recording in 128 kbs, so if I record in 256 kbs, I'm better. Neither of you are better, it's just one of you is slightly better than the other. Never let someone else's bad habits influence how you work. Just because someone else is doing something wrong, doing it slightly better than them doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. I know there's no rights and wrongs in audio and video production because, there isn't. But just think, are you letting other people's bad habits dictate how you work? If someone is doing this wrong, but you think, well, if I do it just a little bit better, then I'm better than that person. It's not a very good way to think about production. You should be going for your best every time. It doesn't matter if you're working on a £20 rough mix for a small band from the middle of nowhere or a AAA Grammy award winning album. You should always be giving it your best no matter what, and don't let other people's bad habits bring you down. If you're working with a mix engineer or producer and they're doing something that you don't think is right, then don't just automatically do it because they're doing it, because it's just going to make you a worse producer. Okay, so that's the end of our Donald Trump episode. I don't even want to go into the actual ins and outs of Donald Trump because I find it difficult to get a positive out of it, which is a bit of a contradiction of everything I've just said in this video. But I've been Aaron from Flores Lava Productions. You can check out our Facebook. It's facebook.com/Flores Lava Productions. You can check out our website. It's floreslava.co.uk. And you can find us on Twitter. It's @FloresLavaUK. Okay, until next week, happy audio production.